My name is Todd Miller. I'm turning 25 this year. I lost my father in a car accident when I was in elementary school. It was sudden and both my mom and I were in shock, but life goes on and we had to keep living. My mom worked day and night, raising me all by herself. Seeing her work so hard made me want to join the workforce as soon as I could, so I never planned on going to college. I loved studying, but I wanted to get a job and start earning money as soon as possible. All I wanted was to help my mom out in any way I could. While most of my friends were busy preparing for college entrance exams, I was looking for a job. I think I was the only one in my class looking to start working right after high school. When my teacher asked me what kind of job I wanted, I immediately said I wanted to clean. I remember the surprised look on his face. It's because I'm a clean freak and love cleaning. Untidy things or messes really bother me. The satisfaction I get after cleaning and tidying up is the best reward for me. My teacher said that he knew someone in the cleaning business and introduced me. I was hired on the spot after the interview. I think being an acquaintance of my teachers helped in my immediate hiring. In the beginning, I had some rough edges when it came to workplace rules and manners and got scolded now and then, but now I'm in charge of cleaning an entire building. I've been able to give my mom a bit of a break now. My mom seems concerned that I didn't go to college, but I think I'm really lucky to have a job that lets me do what I love. I'd be content if I can just keep living peacefully like this every day. It's been about 4 years since I started working at the cleaning company. It's about time my classmates who went to college will be joining the workforce. Some of my high school classmates have asked for job advice, and those with a college degree seem so dazzling to me. There are several companies in the building I'm in charge of. Different companies occupy each floor, but my company is responsible for cleaning the entire building. I was the person in charge of the building. Being the youngest person to take on such a responsibility, I was always enthusiastic about my work. One day, after finishing cleaning the hallway as usual, I was cleaning some dirty tactile paving blocks when I heard a familiar voice.
Isn't that Todd?
A man, who clearly looked like a newbie, was approaching me. He was wearing a crisp suit, but it didn't seem to fit him well. After 4 years, an old classmate, now looking more mature, stood there. His name was Brian Johnson. I think he had gone to some prestigious law school. I'm not ashamed of my job, but at that moment, I did feel a little embarrassed. I was wearing my work clothes. Even if they were clean and washed daily, they couldn't compare to a brand new suit. The thought that he had seen me scrubbing the dirty blocks on the floor made my cheeks hot.
So, I heard you started working right after high school, but you're working for a cleaning company?
Brian approached, laughing in a somewhat mocking tone. I couldn't ignore him, so I stood up and greeted him. Yeah, long time no see. You're Brian, right? You've really changed. At my words, Brian nodded with satisfaction. Then he looked me up and down and sneered. Come to think of it, he was always the type to look down on people in high school. At graduation, he bragged about getting into a big-name college, saying he was one of the chosen ones. From Brian's perspective, I probably seemed insignificant, having chosen to work right after high school.
So, even from your point of view, I look impressive?
Brian said smugly, and he suddenly seemed a little immature. Even if you graduate from a prestigious university and are a highly educated elite, you're still a newbie fresh out of school. I had grown enough as a working adult to be able to sense that naivety. The suit suits you well. Which floor's company did you get a job with? Brian Johnson replied with the name of a company that owns this building. I was impressed that he got a job at such a major firm.
Manager, are you done over here?
While I was chatting with Brian, It seemed that the lady who had been cleaning the end of the hallway was finished with her task. "Yes, I'm done. Let's wrap it up soon." As I answered, Brian muttered quietly, "Manager, I've still got some work to do. See you later, Brian." As I was about to leave, Brian grabbed my arm and whispered,
Don't ever approach me just because a janitor is an old classmate. It's embarrassing.
He shoved me aside and left, even though he was the one who had started the conversation. I stood there, taken aback, and thought about it.
Manager, was there some trouble?
The old lady speaks to me with concern. This person is experienced who has been in charge of this building since before I became the building manager. Depending on the area we cleaned, there were different protocols. We learn our jobs with guidance from seasoned workers like her. Among all the seniors I've encountered, no one had taught me as patiently as she did. She always has a smile on her face, and being around her gives you a warm and comforting feeling. "It's all right, just bumped into someone I know." I gently took the mop and trash bag she was holding.
Thanks, as always.
I'm only good at the heavy lifting. Cleaning tools can be quite heavy. Carrying them up and down the emergency stairs is tiring. My motto towards my work was to start with what I can do. When I was assigned to this building, the only thing I could do initially was carry cleaning tools. Even now as a supervisor, that hasn't changed.
I brought some pastries for our break today. Let's take a break soon.
The old lady said, following me at a leisurely pace. That sounds delightful. There are various jobs out there, but I genuinely believe this one suits me. Time passes slowly and peacefully, and things gradually get cleaned up. It was the best workplace for me. A few days later, I spotted Brian at the end of a hallway. I thought of approaching him, but remembered he told me not to. Moreover, Brian seemed a bit off, repeatedly kicking the wall in frustration. When shoes hit the wall, they leave marks, making cleaning more challenging. Remembering that spot, I planned to clean it later, but unexpectedly, Brian spoke up.
Miller, cleaning again today? Must be tough being a high school grad.
Even though he told me not to speak to him, he started the conversation. Ignoring him wouldn't be mature. Holding a bucket, I walked over to Brian. Checking the wall he had kicked, there were evident dark streaks. "I'm just doing my job, cleaning. I work hard every day." Brian smirked at my response.
Jobs for high school grads are limited, huh? Cleaning in work clothes every day must be a real pain. I could never do that.
He mocked me with those words. At that moment, the conference room door opened and several young employees emerged. They seemed to be co-workers who started the same time as Brian Johnson. All of them looked sharp in their brand new suits. One of them called out to Brian,
"Hey, don't sweat it, Brian. Everyone makes mistakes. We got your back, man."
The other co-workers nodded in agreement with his words. It clicked for me. Brian must have made some sort of mistake at work and had been kicked out of the meeting. That's why he had lashed out and kicked the wall. Brian's face turned red when he realized I knew about his mistake. Brian, I'll clean that up for you." Trying to be helpful, I said that, but it set Brian off. He grabbed the bucket filled with dirty water that I had placed nearby and threw the water at me. I was taller, so I didn't get completely soaked from head to toe, but I was drenched. The floor I had just cleaned was also flooded. Brian's co-workers muttered "dough crap" and hurriedly retreated to their floor.
Just because you only have a high school diploma doesn't mean you can act so high and mighty. I'm an elite who graduated from a top university and joined this company. We're not even in the same league. Who do you think you are, a mere supervisor with just a high school education?
He then hurled the now empty bucket at me. I guess someone heard the splash. An old woman came rushing around the corner of the hallway.
Manager, what happened? You're all wet.
I stopped the lady, who was trying to dry me off with a towel in a panic. It's okay. I don't want the towel to get dirty. I started mopping up the water on the floor, ignoring Brian. I felt it was pointless to engage with him.
What did you do to the manager? Do you think you have the right to behave like this?
The old lady confronted Brian. Brian snorted and brushed off the old lady.
Are you just the janitor here? Can't do anything but cleaning? You know you're at the bottom of the barrel, right? You're in no position to have an opinion against me, old woman.
As Brian pushed her shoulder, the old lady lost her balance and bumped into me. I felt my blood boil.
What the hell? That's rude to her. What's rude? There are plenty of old women like her. I could have her fired right now if I wanted to.
Brian started to rant. Just then, the elevator doors opened in the distance, and I could see a group of people stepping out from where I stood. I couldn't let the employees walk through the flooded area. I was about to warn them when one of them, who seemed to be an executive, rushed over. I worried the hem of his suit would get stained by the dirty water.
Director!
Brian straightened up upon seeing him. It seemed this man was Brian's boss.
What on earth happened here?
The director questioned Brian.
These janitors carelessly knocked over their bucket, and dirty water spilled everywhere. Watch your step. And then they had the nerve to blame me for.
Before Brian could finish his lie, the director's eyes widened upon looking at the old lady.
Chairman, were you cleaning in this attire again?
The flustered director addressed the older lady as chairman. Both Brian and I were in shock. The usually smiling, kind-hearted old lady suddenly had a stern, authoritative expression.
It's my business what I do. But what kind of training are we giving our new hires these days? He's certainly lacking as a professional.
The old lady said all that in one breath and lined up the executives in a row.
You know, Brian, you keep talking about whether you graduated from high school or college. But the manager started working years before you did. What the heck did you learn in such a prestigious university if you're looking down on him?
The old lady sighed heavily as she glared at Brian. The executives all had pale faces.
It's also because of you guys. Just hiring newcomers based on the prestige of their universities, you end up with losers like him. You think I don't know about the university cliques you've formed? You all are so full of pride and have such a narrow view.
The executives, being shouted at by the old lady, seemed to shrink with every word.
Now, take this loser and train him properly.
At the old lady's command, the executives quickly raised their heads and took Brian away. Should I call you chairman? I hesitantly asked, and her face returned to the familiar old lady's look.
What are you talking about? Just call me Granny, manager.
Being called manager by the chairman, Granny, felt strangely ticklish. When I told her this, Granny laughed heartily. A few days later, I was unexpectedly called to the chairman's secretary's office. While I was changing into my work clothes as usual, I got a call from the headquarters telling me to go to the secretary's office immediately. Though I often enter for cleaning, being summoned made me nervous. A woman who appeared to be the head secretary invited me to a sofa in the back. There, I was told that the chairman hoped I would work as one of her secretaries. The sudden proposal surprised me, and I felt like I wasn't up to the task. I'm just someone who loves cleaning, and I don't have any special skills that would be of use to the chairman. Especially as a high school graduate, I would probably have the lowest education level compared to anyone working in this secretary's office. I was about to politely decline when Granny came out of her office. Not in her usual work clothes, but in a dress. She looked like a different person in that dress. Granny gently persuaded me.
Manager, you're a fine person. I want fine people by my side.
Somehow, her words deeply resonated with me. I don't know if I fit into the fine person category Granny mentioned, but I thought maybe it wouldn't be bad to try to get closer to that. Do you think I can do it? My voice trembled slightly. That's how little confidence I had. Granny, sensing my feelings, smiled kindly.
No one is perfect from the start.
Hearing Granny's words, I decided to join the secretary's office. I felt this was a turning point in my life. When I started working in the secretary's office, Brian was ordered to redo his training from scratch, and he took over the cleaning duties from me. Every time Brian, now in work clothes, saw me, he ran away as if he saw a ghost. It's strange how roles can reverse so easily. You shouldn't judge people by their education or job. If you live sincerely, you will surely be rewarded.